Yo guys, what's up? Hokage here. So, I just did the AFCON predictions video. Like I said, we're getting Asia Cup and AFCON in the same month. In January from January to February, starting in 2024. It's a big year for football tournaments this in 2024. Big year. Asia Cup, AFCON together, January through February, and we got Copa America, and we got the Olympics, if you care about the Olympics in the summer, and we got obviously the Euros. But I already did the AFCON predictions video. I got a good response to that video. If you watched that video, thank you for watching. If you left a comment, thank you for interacting. I like interacting with people about these things. But now it's time for the Asia Cup, the Asian Cup, 2024 Asian Cup. And honestly, these tournaments, Asian Cup and AFCON, always seem to creep up on me. And I was just so surprised to see that Asian Cup is back already. I always forget it's always year after the World Cup, year after the World Cup. So it's here. And we have, 5, 6 teams that could win it. We got a whole lot of garbage in the tournament, like always in these Asian Cups. We always have a bunch of these garbage teams with garbage players, garbage managers, and no chance. So we're going to go through all the groups right now, just like it did in the AFCON video. We're going to go through who I think is going to finish first, second, and remember in Asian Cup, just like in AFCON, third place teams can go through to the round of 16s. The best third place teams can go through. Now, I'm not going to predict the third place teams. I'll kind of tell you which third place teams I think are probably the favorites to go through to the round of 16. But yeah, I won't go and try to accurately predict which third place teams will go through, but I'll tell you who I think is finishing first, second, third, and fourth for all the groups, group A through F. And in the end, I'll tell you who my favorites are. I'll tell you who my potential flops are going to be and who I think the surprise teams can be. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it because we got 6 groups here to talk about. And to be honest, a lot of these groups are straightforward. In my AFCON video, I had some shocking choices that some people didn't agree with, but I think with these videos, unless you're a fan of some of these smaller nations like a Kyrgyzstan or Jordan or whatever, I think a lot of people will agree with my takes in this video. I think it's pretty solid. Again, I'm not I'm Persian, I'm German, I support Iran, I support Germany. So I'm gonna have a little bias when we get to Iran, but I'll try to be as objective as I can. But yeah, if I think a lot of these groups are straightforward. Who the favorites are straightforward, but maybe certain people have different opinions. I certainly have a different opinion on who is the absolute favorite, the first spot of who I think is going to win the tournament. I do differ from a whole bunch of the other creators out there. I do think it's a different team who is absolutely the top team who's going to win this tournament, in my humble, not so humble, respectful opinion. So, without further ado, guys, let's just get into it. I'm going to have the same format as last time. So here we are. We got Group A. In my opinion, when I look down these groups right here, really, this is the crappiest group. This really is the crappiest group from top to bottom. In my opinion, 4 garbage teams. I mean, Qatar's squad isn't too impressive. After they are the reigning champions. We have to show Qatar respect. They are the reigning champions. They have Carlos Queiroz, that brick Carlos Queiroz, that coward Carlos Queiroz. If you are any Iranian viewers out there, do not be fooled. Queiroz was a coward for Iran, and he's back, and he's gonna stink it up for Qatar. Trust me. The squad isn't that impressive. After they won the Asian Cup, I thought, okay, some of these players could go to Europe. Their whole entire squad, I think all of them playing Qatar. Their World Cup, it was pathetic. I mean, their attempt at the World Cup was disgusting. Remember that opening game against Ecuador? That was an embarrassing showing for Qatar at the World Cup. Really embarrassing. But at the end of the day, they did win the last Asia Cup. They did beat Japan in the final, although it was a completely different aging Japan team with guys like Mayo Yoshida in there. They did win the last. They are the hosts also, and they did win the last Asian Cup. So we have to give them respect. But man, these guys with their brick garbage manager Carlos Queiroz, that fraud, and this really unimpressive team. I'm not too hot on Qatar, but at the same time, China, the whole entire Chinese team plays in China. In the Chinese Super League. In the last Asian Cup, they did have a decent run. I think they made the quarterfinals and Iran beat them, if I'm remembering correctly. I probably should check that, but I think Iran beat them 1-0, and beat them over and beat China to get to the semifinals. But at the same time, just like in the Qatar team, these guys have no firepower. Not Asia, China has, no elite, talisman, nothing. For a country with so many people, it's kind of embarrassing that China's talent pool is so bad, but also they don't put too much funding and effort throughout their country for, football. So kind of expected. Again, you also have Tajikistan, brick squad. I mean, they weren't even the last Asia Cup. No expectation for Tajikistan and Lebanon. Lebanon, I'll give you this. In the last Asia Cup, Lebanon was one of the unlucky third place teams because typically in these tournaments, when you get third place, typically a win is good enough to get you third place and be a good enough third place team to advance. But unluckily for Lebanon, they were the only third place team that won a game that had 3 points that did not advance to the round of 16 in the last Asia Cup. It was them and Palestine that did not advance from the third place teams last time. And Lebanon was just Palestine drew 2 games, so they had 2 points. But Lebanon had won a game, but they unluckily, because of goal difference and whatever yellow cards, they didn't get it. So they are a tough team to beat. You have to respect them a little. They did have a decent showing at the last one, but again, their team has nothing. They're just one of these bum teams that always shows up every tournament. And with the power of passion, they try to pull off something. So, I mean, when you see the other groups, you'll probably agree with me that this is definitely, in terms of overall quality and strength of teams, actually, this probably might be the closest group, but it's because they're all so bad. Let's be real. It's because they're all so bad. It's the closest group. So, in terms of the ranking of this group, however, I'm going to go fourth for Tajikistan. I think they didn't even make the last Asia Cup. They're not in great form going into the tournament. I think most teams going into the tournament have 2 more friendly games before Asia Cup starts, but they're not in great form. No real stars, no real quality in the team, no expectations, and I just don't think they have enough to get past the other teams. Third place, I think Lebanon's going to be stuck in third place again this year in their group. If hopefully if they're not as unlucky as last time, if they beat, I think they'll beat Tajikistan. Hopefully they're single. Maybe they could beat a China too, to be honest. I don't think they could beat Qatar, but they could get 6 points and maybe push for second. But in reality, I do think Lebanon probably stays third, just like they did last time. And I think this time, if they do stay third and get third, I think they'll edge it, and they should be good enough to make it as one of the better third place teams. If not, then they're just super unlucky. But yeah, second place, I have China. Like I said, a squad. I think the whole entire team plays in the Chinese Super League. They had a decent run last time. They could probably push for first, if I'm being honest. Qatar, I know they're the reigning champions, but I'm not impressed. Their World Cup performance was so trash. They were the worst Asian team at the World Cup by far, worst in terms of performance. So I wouldn't be surprised if China pulls first, but I'm going to stick with it. I think Qatar home nation tax, they'll end up getting first. Self-explanatory, as I just said. Home nation tax, I think, will push them into first place. But yeah, I think most people would agree with this group ranking for Group A. I think the real thing that could switch here is I think China can potentially get first over Qatar. If there's one major change that I can make to this and maybe reorganize the group, I think China. Don't be surprised if China gets first, but I'm going to stick to Qatar home nation tax and push them to first place. Group B, as you see, you got Matt Ryan and they look like 2 frat boys, Matt Ryan and Jackson Irvine, Mr. Mustache, right there on the right. But these are 2 of their key players. Their goalie, Matt Ryan. Jackson Irvine in the midfield was a tank in the World Cup. I remember he had a great game against Argentina in the round of 16. But yeah, Australia had an impressive World Cup, in my opinion. They made it to the round of 16. They are good as a unit. Australia doesn't have too many players in Europe. Like, they don't have a Tim Cahill anymore, guys in Europe, but they play well as a unit, and you saw that in the World Cup. These guys, they gave Argentina a run for their money, and Australia, if they took they had 2 massive chances. If they took their chances better, They could have taken Argentina to extra time, or they could have even beat Argentina, shockingly. They played a really good game with good intensity. They were able to shut down Messi well at times. But yeah, because of their World Cup performance alone, um, I'm really high on them for this tournament. Uzbekistan right under them in the group. They're in decent form coming into the tournament, but they don't really have too many great, superstar players. Shomurdov, Kusanov has been playing at Lon. He I got a couple games at Lon so far, a 19-year-old, I think he is. But Uzbekistan is a team that is not just strong, like tough to beat, but they're like physically strong players. These guys will bully you and make the game a living hell for you. Very tough team to play against in the Asian Federation. One of the hardest teams to play against. And I think sometimes when they do play a European team or teams outside of Asia, they feel it. These guys are tough guys. And hey, they're coming into this Asia Cup in decent form. They could do something. They could do something. But going down the group more, Syria, this Syria team is very old. Very, very old. I mean, I'm honestly disregarding Syria for this tournament. It's such an old team, and they're not really coming into the tournament with any real form, no real players to rely on in the tournament, and right under them in India. I mean, you guys, if I see Sunil Chetri playing, if I see Sunil Chetri on that field, I'm calling adult services in India. We have to arrest someone. How is this guy still playing for India? You're not one of the top goal scorers anymore in the world. I think Messi has surpassed him. You're nobody. I mean, Sunil Chetri, I think he's 39. And, outside of Chetri, there's no really good Indian players in that team. They're on weak form. India's always unimpressive. They never impress me. I've never watched a football match of India and been like, wow, these guys, they're building something. They're not building shit. Let's be honest. India doesn't build shit, but that doesn't make that, but they're still not the worst team in this group. I'm going Syria fourth place. As I said, very old team. Guys walking in adult diapers and piss bags. I mean, I seriously don't have any expectations for Syria. And I think if there's any Syria fans out there watching this, you would agree. Like, you shouldn't have too much hope going into this tournament. India, third. I think India could potentially be one of the third place teams that doesn't go through now. If they could get a win against Syria, then okay, now we can talk. But I have an unfortunate feeling for India that they'll lose to Australia and Uzbekistan, and they'll tie Syria, and they won't make it through. I have a weird feeling that'll happen. I don't know, but hey, let's see India in a round of 16. Screw it. Let's give Sunil Chetri a round of 16 match in the Asia Cup. Let's just give it to him. Let's just hope they beat Syria and Sunil Chetri can get a knockout goal in the Asia Cup. Who knows? Uzbekistan second place. Like I said, this isn't like Group A where I think Uzbekistan can pull a first place. I do think Australia just overall as a team and the players, they have more quality than the rest of these teams. So I don't think Uzbekistan can pull a first place in this group, but I do think they're a rock solid second place. I'd really be surprised if here I'm just gonna say Australia first. I'm gonna really be surprised if the group does not end up like this. I'd really be surprised if the group doesn't end up as Australia first, Uzbekistan second, India third, Syria fourth. I think this is one of the groups, and if there's any other creators out there making predictions, early predictions for it's not really early. The Asia Cup is 3 weeks away. This is a pretty nailed on group ordering. And I really want to see Australia and Uzbekistan in the knockout stages. These are two teams that Uzbekistan is a tough team to play, and Australia is one of the better footballing, like pure football and the attractiveness of their football. They're one of the better teams in Asia. So really want to see these teams go through as well, just for the entertainment aspect of the knockout stage. So if we go to Group C now, these are my boys. These are my boys. Iran. Iran. They're going to run this group 100%. I mean, if Iran does not run this group, shame on you boys if you don't run this group. Taremi, Osman, Kodos, you have to. They have to. Jahanbakhsh, you have to run away with this group. 9 points out of 9. I expect 9 points out of 9 for Iran. So I'm spoiling it. Who I think is going to get first? Iran first, 100%. You might say that's biased, but I don't think it is. Iran is much stronger than the rest of these teams in the group. But Iran is a team who, when they have strong teams, they tend to not show up. Last Asia Cup, last Asia Cup is okay because they did lose to Japan in the semifinal, but they got embarrassed. I think they lost like 3-1. It wasn't even a close game. Japan played them off the park. But this time, 4 years ago, Taremi was barely breaking into the form that he's been in the last 3 years in Portugal. Osmun is now refining his game under Jose Mourinho at Roma. Ghoddos is one of Brentford's best players, starting one of their key starters in the Premier League. Jahanbakhsh last season was key for Feyenoord winning the Dutch league. I think Iran's attack is really strong. Iran's Beran van der Goli always will show up in the national tournaments, but it's the defense for Iran that usually kills us. We don't have many great defenders. We have Rezayan, who shows up for the national team, but Iran is one of my favorites. So, and the UAE, no superstars in the United Arab. God, I'm not even gonna say. I'm just gonna say UAE for real. No superstars, just like a lot of the teams in Asia Cup, but they're a strong team and they're in great form coming into the tournament. They're a strong team and in great form coming into the tournament. Down the group, we have Hong Kong, who are just trash. Disregard Hong Kong. I'm not going to spend more than 30 seconds talking about Hong Kong. And Palestine, unfortunately, I don't know how this Palestine team is going to play with everything going on back at home. Are they even going to be well equipped for the tournament? But if we're just talking with putting away the political side of things, footballing wise, Palestine has nothing. They really have nothing. They're just another trash team. I don't want to spend too much time on them. But if we're putting trash against trash, I think Hong Kong will be more trash. I think they'll get fourth in the group. I think Palestine will get third in the group. And I think, if Palestine could just get a win against Hong Kong and for their people make it, I mean, their people don't really care about this tournament. They're fighting a different battle right now in the world. But can Palestine beat Hong Kong and sneak in as one of the better third place teams? I don't know. I think they can. Obviously, the way I was talking about the group earlier, UAE second. I don't think they have the star power at all to trump Iran in this group and get first. I do think Iran ends up getting first. I do think 3 out of 3 wins. I want to see a lot of goals. I want to see a lot of goals from Iran. I do think they'll score a lot of goals. UAE will be the toughest test in the group, but I do think Iran will still beat the UAE. I think they'll smash Palestine and Hong Kong, unfortunately. And yeah, first place for them into the knockout stages like we usually do. Group D now. This is an easy group to predict. Karu Mitoma on the screen, Tomiyasu on the screen, Takefusa Kubo, one of Sociedad's best players, leading them to the Champions League knockout stages. They have Endo, they have Ito at Stuttgart, Tomiyasu, like I just said, and a whole bunch of other players I haven't said. They have Asano in the Bundesliga for Bochum. They have players that could hurt you. And Japan is a team. I don't know what happened. So Japan wasn't that impressive before the World Cup, but that win against Germany, that win against my German brothers, did something to this team. It gave them this belief. And now these guys play confidently. They play sexy. Mitoma dribbling everyone. Defense rock solid. Just this true team spirit. It's like this anime. It's literally not even to be like offensive or anything. They have this like anime team spirit. And they're just on fire. They're just on fire. And I don't see how they don't win this group. Down the group, you have Indonesia. They're trash. They don't have anyone. You could disregard them. I'm sorry. Iraq, decent form. They have some players in Europe. Iraq is usually a tough team to beat, but it's just not enough to take down Japan in this group. And Vietnam, just no. I know Vietnam had an impressive run last Asian Cup, but I don't think it's going to be the same 4 years later. I think that was a special one for them. But this time, just no to Vietnam. No to Vietnam. I don't see them doing anything in this tournament, to be honest. Maybe sneaking third place, as you'll see. I'll put them in third place, but I'm putting Indonesia fourth. They really have nothing to they're the weakest team in this group, and they really don't have anything to hurt Iraq, Vietnam, and Japan. They really don't. They're on par with your Hong Kongs and Syrias and Tajikistans in this tournament, really. Third place, Vietnam. Maybe Vietnam could sneak in as one of the better third place teams. I don't know. Second place, because of how tough they are to beat, I do think Iraq will get second place. And obviously Japan, first place, 100%. Everyone on YouTube will be saying Japan first place. And I mean, it's like 99.99999% chance Japan finishes first place in this group. Probably 3 wins out of 3, let's be honest. 3 wins out of 3, domination for Japan in this group, 100%. And if you don't agree, please let me know why in the comments, because this Japan team is a monster. Group B. This is an interesting group because I like this South Korea team. Heung-min Son had an iffy season last season in the Premier League, but this season, Son is back to his best, guys. Son is back to his absolute best, banging in the goals for Tottenham Hotspurs. He is at his. I wish he wasn't at Spurs. I wish he was at a Bayern, Real Madrid. He's wasting his career at Spurs. He should have moved 2 years ago, 3 years ago to a different team. It's unfortunate. South Korea, Kim Min-jae, this surge of one of the best center backs in the world. He was at Fenerbahce just a couple years ago. Led Napoli as their defensive giants to their first league title in 30 years. I think, in my opinion, Kim Min-jae is like a top 5 center back in the world. South Korea has a top 5 center back in the world. They have Hwang Hee-chan. Don't forget, Hwang Hee-chan is having a great season in the Premier League for Wolves. They have Kang-in Lee at PSG. I like the South Korea team. Down the group, Malaysia are in decent form coming into the tournament. Make of it what you know. Make of it what you want. They have a South Korean coach. I don't know if that means anything, but they have a South Korean coach. Maybe he could understand what they're doing in the game better because he literally speaks their language. I don't know. Maybe he understands South Korean footballing philosophy, and maybe he could come up with a game plan. Obviously, down the group, they're in garbage form. Coming into this tournament. Their best player is Al Tamari or something from Montpellier. He's like 26 years old, but that's really it. Jordan has nothing else, and he's a defender. He's not even an attacker. In Bahrain is in decent form coming to the tournament. They made the round of 16 in the last. Asian Cup. And they only went out 2-1, I think, to South Korea in the last Asia Cup. So Bahrain, let's not sleep on Bahrain. If you're sleeping on them, don't sleep on them. But Jordan fourth. I don't even really have to explain it. They don't have much to challenge with these teams. I'm gonna go Bahrain third. And you know what? I'm gonna go Malaysia second. I like the form they're coming into the tournament. And I don't know, the fact that they have a South Korean coach, that's just tripping me up a little. South Korean coach in a group with South Korea. I'm just saying. Maybe it's superstitions, but I'm just saying. Malaysia second place, and obviously South Korea first place. If they don't get first place, this is like a Japan and Iran situation, and Australia. Like if these are nailed on first place teams in their groups, 100%. And Group F, this is kind of on par with Group A in terms of trash teams. Saudi Arabia, they beat Argentina at the World Cup. Cool. I mean, Argentina had an offside goal that shouldn't have counted, but they got a historic win against Argentina. That's the biggest thing they've ever done in their footballing history. But Saudi Arabia has been in trash form recently. They've been in terrible form. But Mancini is their coach. And that changes things for me because Mancini took an Italy team, as we can now see, is so trash. They're so trash. He took that same Italy team with basically the same players and won a Euros. This guy knows, he's just proved with Italy that he knows how to win knockout tournaments. And if with Mancini, with the Saudi Arabia team, most of the players still play in Saudi Arabia, but we know the Saudi Pro League, with all the money and all the players they brought in, the Ronaldos, the Benzemas, the Kantes, etc., the quality of the league has gotten better. Maybe the players have benefited from the better competition and better quality in the league. I don't know. Thailand, they made the round of 16 last time, but their team is very old. Kyrgyzstan, they're usually a tough team, but they're in terrible form coming into this Asia Cup. Terrible form, and their team is aging. It's not good. And Oman, just no. I can't really take Oman seriously. I mean, they had one good game against the USA the past couple of international breaks, but Oman's one of those teams that just shows up this year. I'm telling you, they're just one of the teams that shows up. But They're not going to be last place in this group. You know, Kyrgyzstan is usually a tough team to play against, but they're in such bad form right now, and their team is aging so much, and they don't really have any quality in that team. I think they're gonna end up having a really disappointing tournament this year, and that puts Oman at third, in my opinion. I think when you're looking at this is like a Dumb and Dumber situation or Trash and Trasher. The more trash team, in my opinion, is Kyrgyzstan at the moment. I think they'll get fourth, and Oman is just a slightly less trash team. Thailand, obviously, with their beautiful food. You guys, pho is so good. Pho and banh mi, Thai yellow curry, oh, it's next level. But that's not the reason I'm putting them second. They did get the route of 16 last Asia Cup, and they have a good team. This team is old, but they play together well, and I think that'll be enough to get them in second place and get into the knockout stages. And I do think the Mancini, I'm telling you, I believe in this Mancini effect for Saudi Arabia. They will get first in this group. I don't think this will be like a 9 out of 9 points situation for Saudi Arabia. I do see them getting like 2 wins and a tie, like a tie against Thailand potentially. But yeah, that's how I think Group F is going to finish. And that's the last group. That's the last group, guys. 6 groups. That's my take on them. I'm excited for this tournament. I really am excited for this tournament because I think your favorites for this tournament have to be Australia, Japan, South Korea, Iran. Those have to be your 4 favorites for this tournament, not just because of the history of those typically being the best teams in Asia, but they all have really good. I mean, Australia probably has the weakest team out of those 4 teams, but they play well as a unit and they impressed me at the World Cup. Obviously, Japan got out of the group. Also, South Korea did. Iran is the only one at the World Cup that didn't get out of the group, but Iran was in a situation like in 2018. They played a good, besides the England game with that clown coward Queiroz as manager. They played good in the World Cup. That England game really screwed them. They could have beaten the USA. Like, they were still impressive, in my opinion, at the World Cup. They were still impressive. I think those have to be your 4 favorites. But here's the thing I wanted to say about out of those 4 teams, the team I think who will actually, for me, that if I had to rank them in terms of probability of winning, the team I'd put first. A lot of people on YouTube will say Japan just blindly. Oh, they made it out of the group of death in the last World Cup. They just beat Germany again 4-1, 4-2, whatever it was. They're playing amazing. They're unstoppable. They have all these great dribblers and finishers. Kubo, Mitoma, great team spirit. I get it. I really get it. Tomiyasu, Ito having a great season at Stuttgart. I get it. I really get it, guys. I really get. Trust me when I say it. I get it. But bro, South Korea, I'm feeling something about South Korea this tournament. Son is in the form of his life right now after having a terrible season. Kim Min-jae is a top 5, maybe top 3 center back in the world. Hwang Hee-chan's having a great tournament. I mean, a great season for Wolves, basically carrying the Wolves, that Wolves team, after transferring from the Bundesliga to Wolves a couple seasons ago. Kang and Lee's in that team too. I'm just saying, I think South Korea are my number 1 favorites for this tournament. I think Son is going to come in deadly. Kim Min-jae is a monster. They call him the monster for a reason. The guy's a monster in the back. And I think him leading the back line and Son leading the front line with Hwang Hee-chan right beside him, they're cooking, and I think they're going to cook to a win. I think they're going to cook to an Asian Cup win. Below them, I probably put Japan second favorites, and I'd probably put Iran third favorites, Australia fourth favorites. That's talking about the favorites. The surprise team for me, I already alluded to it with the certain manager. Also to mention, South Korea has Jurgen Klinsmann as a manager, and he has experience. He has plenty of experience in knockout football as a player and a manager. Plenty of experience as a player and a manager with the USA, with Germany, as a player for Germany. That's another aspect of the South Korea team I like. But the surprise team for me, Saudi. With the quality of the Saudi league improving, the more investment in the Saudi league, these Saudi league players had to have gotten better, right? They had to have gotten better since the last World Cup. And Mancini as the coach, I don't know. The fact that Mancini is the coach and the fact that he took an Italy team that was down in the dumps, took them on like a 40-game win streak, went and won the Euros. Sure, in the end, they ended up failing to qualify for the World Cup. But well, let's just talk about the knockout football, a tournament. He took Italy, who was in dumpster. It was in dumpster mode after failing for the 2018 World Cup, failing to qualify, and took them to a Euros win. That's an experienced coach they have. Now, sure, maybe Mancini's only here because he's getting paid a crap ton of money, but I do think Mancini is a man of principle. He's an Italian man of principles. I do think he's not just going to come and show up for the paycheck. And taking a team like Saudi to an Asia Cup is a good thing to have on your resume. And I do think he's going to push Saudi to be a surprise team in this tournament. 100%. I think he's going to push Saudi to be a surprise team of this tournament. And to end the tournament off, I do think there's two teams I think are going to flop. I mean, one of them isn't really a flop. China, I just put them as flop because in this day and age, when we're this far into modern football, I would expect China to be better than they are with better players, but they just aren't. And I think, sure, I did predict them as second place and get into the knockout stages, but I think they'll probably get to round of 16 and get smashed. I won't lie. I told you, Qatar and China, I'm not impressed with, and that's my second team that I think is going to flop. Qatar. That coward, bum, brick of a manager, Queiroz, is taking this team that had an embarrassing World Cup performance at home in Qatar. The tournament's in Qatar again. I just don't think, the stadium will be full for Qatar's games, maybe. It wasn't full at the World Cup. I mean, I don't know. Will they have that much of a home nation advantage? I don't think they will. Their team isn't impressive since 4 years ago when they won the Asia Cup. None of the players went to Europe to improve. Like I said, terrible World Cup, brick manager in Queiroz. I think they're going to flop. I think they'll make, I think a lot of people think Qatar will do good in this tournament and are one of the favorites. I don't think they're one of the favorites, to be honest. I think round of 16 max. I think I put them as first. I think if they get first, they play like Uzbekistan. Or no, if they get first, I think they get a third place team. Apologies. They get a third place team. But still, I think they would mess it up somehow. The way just that World Cup performance was so trash. I just think they'll mess it up. And again, that bum brick of a manager is there. He'll probably have him playing defensive football. And then he's going to realize, oh, my defensive football and structure sucks, as he did with Iran. And then the players are going to just go out there and play attacking football and try to win. It's what Queiroz does. He lives off the coattails of the time he was assistant manager for Alex Ferguson for like 1 or 2 years at Manchester United. And he was a coach of Real Madrid. Like, he lives on those he rides those past achievements and positions so hard. But there you go, guys. That was my Asian Cup group stage prediction. I'm not going to predict the knockout stages because I didn't predict the third place team. I'll do a knockout stage prediction when the knockout stage is confirmed during the tournament. If any major injuries happen, I'll probably make videos on that for teams and talk about how that messes up their chances. Like if Son gets injured for South Korea, I'm making a video on that because then that drops South Korea to the bottom. They're not favorites anymore without Son, in my opinion. He's their killer. That's just an example, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you're excited for the tournament. Let me know if you disagree. There's probably people out there that disagree if you made it this far. I try to keep up with Asian football. I'm not, just like in AFCON, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on it, but I feel like I know well enough to make some good predictions here. I think people will agree with a lot of what I said. But let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you enjoy the video. Any feedback is appreciated, positive or negative. If my video sucks, if you hate that my camera's shaking when I'm putting my hands on the desk right now, let me know. If my camera sucks, if my audio sucks, let me know. But if you enjoyed the video, guys, like the vid. If you're new, subscribe. If there's any of the new AFCON subscribers watching, thank you for subbing to the channel. I really appreciate it. We got like 13 subscribers overnight, which is cool for me. I mean, that might be like nothing, but I appreciate it a ton. I appreciate that a ton. But yeah, if you like the video, share it Share it with other people who may be interested in Asian football. This channel is going to have a ton of Asian Cup content and AFCON content. I'm going to treat the AFCON and Asia Cup fans out there. Someone's got to talk about it. someone's got to talk about it and be real with you guys. It's got to be me. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.